Council Bill 21-0080, the ordinance of estimates for the fiscal year ending June 30, 2022. Eric Costello, Councilman from the 11th District, Chair of the committee, joined by Councilman Antonio Glover, 13th District, Councilman Ryan Dorsey, 3rd District, member of the committee, Council Vice President Sharon Middleton, 6th District, Council President Nick Mosby, Councilman Robert Stokes, 12th District, member of the committee, Councilwoman Odette Ramos, 14th District, Councilman Isaac Itzy Schleifer, 5th District, representing Mayor Brandon Scott, Natasha Mihu, and Nina Themelis, representing Council President Nick Mosby, Matt Stegman, and Nikki Thompson, staff to the committee, Marguerite Curran. And we are here for the Inspector General session. This will go until 4:30 p.m. And then we have Department of General Services coming next. Madam Inspector General, we're going to give you about seven to 8 minutes to get through your presentation, and then we'll get into questions from the council. Thank you. Take it away. You're on mute.
Are the deputies on as far as Michelle Phillips and Jeff Hofstadler?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because I can't see. Okay, thank you. Good afternoon, Council President, Mr. Chairman, members of the Ways and Means Committee, as well as council persons and all those watching these proceedings. My name is Isabel Mercedes Cumming, and I am the Inspector General. With me today is my Deputy of Administration, Yvonne Brooks. Online is the Deputy of Investigation, Michelle Phillips, and the Ethics Director, Jeff Hofstadler. The mission of the Office of the Inspector General is to promote accountability, efficiency, and integrity in city government by promoting trust and eliminating identifiable financial waste, fraud, and financial abuse. The OIG investigations allegations of misconduct by city employees and contractors, which may involve violations of criminal law, civil statutes, city regulations, and employee standards of conduct. An effective OIG fosters the impartiality, integrity, and the transparency of city agencies. Citizens have the right to expect effective and honest government. The OIG does this by investigating employee and citizens' complaints, which can lead to improvements in government operations and efficiency. Now, the OIG gained independence in 2018 by voter referendum. It was the highest garnering vote that year. OIG independence is crucial to the objectivity and the impartiality of the OIG's investigations. That impartiality leads to meaningful accountability and checks and balances. Also, this year, the item that has impacted the most on the proposed budget is one that I know each of you is aware of. And that is the office took over the responsibilities of the ethics program in the whistleblower programs in 2021. And before I focus on the performance metrics, I would like to touch on the enormity of that program. The OIG started the ethics program with 2,000 handwritten ethical disclosure forms this year. These forms had to be individually scanned and put on a database. In the process, we found over 500 persons who had not filed the forms in the past, but were required to do so by law. The OIG then worked with BCIT to make the new existing ethics financial disclosure site. The new site is online with video instruction and accessible to the public. In addition, the ethics group just this past year handled 1,442 ethics help desk requests. The vast majority were for financial disclosures and ethics inquiries. In addition, the ethics director has conducted 9 ethics trainings with over 300 participants and all the newly elected officials. Also, the ethics team in calendar year 2020 ensured that 150 lobbyists filed their ethics reports. For the first time in ethics history, the board charged late fees for late reports and late registration of lobbyists. Another first is that we have an ethics complaint form that's been developed. Finally, there have been 4 advisory published board opinions. Now, this is the first time that has happened since 2017. The website was overhauled and social media was added. The OIG is proud to report that there is 96% financial disclosure compliance for the first time ever. Now, the Whistleblower Rights and Responsibilities Act also went into effect in 2020. And that law prohibits supervisors from taking retaliatory personnel actions against city employees who make covered disclosures about the actions of city government, meaning reports of fraud, gross misuse, or waste of public resources. The law authorizes employees to file complaints of alleged whistleblower retaliation with their supervisors or directly with the OIG if the employee believes their supervisor is implicated. The law also requires the OIG to adopt rules and regulations to carry out the law, to assist the Department of Human Resources in training employees and supervisors about the law, and to create the administrative manual that outlines procedures for handling complaints. Even though this has not been fully rolled out due to the focus of setting up ethics, there are already 5 active cases under this program. Now for the performance metrics. Okay, the public input has been crucial to our mission. It's the citizens and the employee complaints to the OIG that are the starting point of our investigations. That way, the hotline has been the foundation of our success. That is one of the performance measures of our office. Even during the pandemic, the hotline was active. The metrics continue to rise with the addition of ethics, and we are ahead of last year's numbers. The numbers started at 74 in fiscal year 17 and rose to 164 when I started in 18. As a result of much awareness of the office, the numbers have grown steadily. In fiscal year 2020, the numbers were 751, and this year they are 808. The target is 350. The next performing metrics is the amount of identified savings and waste the OIG has been able to identify through their investigations. This number has also continued to rise throughout the years. When I started as the IG in 2018, the yearly amount was $154,394. In fiscal year 21, the amount was up to $2,986,929. As of June 2nd, 2021, the amount is $7,051,268. The target for both years was $1.5 million. The next metrics is the effectiveness of the office by the number of administrative, civil, or criminal actions taken as a result of OIG investigations. That number has historically comprised of OIG management alerts, referrals with action, reports of investigation, or advisory opinions. Again, when I began, these numbers were 41. The numbers rose to 115 in fiscal year 2020, and this year with 1 month left, we're at 103. The target for both years was 100. The final metric is the number of OIG outreach activities that are conducted to educate and inform city employees, contractors, fund recipients, and citizens about the workings of the OIG, whether ethics, fraud, or whistleblower. The new laws actually require the OIG conduct awareness for ethics.
Madam Inspector General, you're about a minute past your time. I'm going to ask you to wrap up, please.
Okay, no one told me that we had a time.
I'm the chair of the committee. I set the time at the beginning of the committee. The time was set at 7 or 8 minutes. So that's going to be the time.
Okie doke. Basically, we hit that target too. So basically the OIG has 7 agents. We have 31 active investigations right now. Each of my agents carries 3 to 5 active cases. We currently maintain a list of actual investigations of 48 cases. Now, the big number and the big rise in my budget is the fact that the whistleblower and ethics number was not part of 2021. It is making up 2022. So actual funding for the 3 positions was not included in fiscal year 2021, although the positions were filled at the time. So OIG holds 18 funded positions, and 1 remains unfilled, but we're looking for the person. And at this time, I would be happy to answer any questions you have.
Thank you, Madam Inspector General. If you would please take down the, or Ms. Brooks, if you could take down the presentation. Thank you so much. Mr. President.
I can't hear him.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I'd like to start off, let's see here. We'll start off on page 144 of Agency Detail Volume 2, specifically under Service 836, salaries and wages for permanent full-time funded positions, specifically Operations Manager 2. That position was paid $151,600. I'm rounding to the 100 here. $151,600 for it was budgeted for fiscal 21. It's increased to $183,800. That's an increase of $32,200 for one position. I'd appreciate if you could briefly, in a minute, describe the evolution of the increase of that salary and how that happened.
Of course. I think it'd be easiest if I read this letter in 1 minute. Dear Solicitor Moore, as the Inspector General, it is my responsibility to review all city agencies for proper procedures and accountability. It is imperative that the Office of the Inspector General moves within the same parameters and standards of other agencies are held to. I was appointed the Inspector General on January 27th. Later in 2018, the citizens recognized and made the office independent. When I was hired, the position was classified as an Operations Officer 2, which is the equivalent of a Senior DPW Manager or DOT Manager. Since independence, the office has grown to 17. The visibility and the impact of the office has grown as well. We now oversee the ethics component of city government along with the whistleblower program, while identifying nearly $3 million in savings for waste this year alone. I recently received a letter notifying me that the Inspector General position had been evaluated and obtained a reclassification to Executive Director 2. According to the letter, an evaluation was done as a review of all heads of agencies. I am incredibly grateful for the reclassification, which I did not ask for, but in retrospect believe it was the right move for the Inspector General's position with the City of Baltimore. In most jurisdictions, the Inspector General ranks among the highest levels of government. Transparency and accountability are the foundations of the Inspector General's office, so I am reporting this as an official record of reclassification and resulting pay increase to you as both the solicitor and as a member of the Inspector General's Oversight Committee. Thank you for the opportunity to report this, and more importantly, to serve as the Inspector General's for the City of Baltimore. And so attached to that, I have a letter that I received from the Chief of Staff that told me that after an annual assessment of agency directors, it was discovered that your classification-based salary was not in alignment with your peers. This reclassification is granted in accordance with the provisions of AM 20520 for internal alignment with your reclassification and represented in the increase to your salary base. We look forward to the contributions you will continue to make as the Inspector General, and if you have any questions, please contact the Senior Business Consultant. Signed, Kimberly Morton, Chief of Staff, Mayor's Office. I then also included the Operations Manager's 2 job description. And then I also included the new position, which more encompasses what an actual Inspector General does. I in no way asked for this, nor I also don't even have an oversight committee, but I decided to make such a documentation in case that anybody should ever ask how this happened. So I thank you for the opportunity.
No, I appreciate that. We'll certainly take you at your word. I know there's a lot of city employees that probably wish they got a $32,000 pay increase without asking for it. I want to jump to the 3 positions, and I know you had, Madam Inspector General, you had mentioned that you were funded at 15 positions for the previous fiscal year, and the proposed budget for fiscal 22 includes the 18 positions, and you had mentioned the justification in your opening narrative around those 3 positions. I want to jump over to Bob Seneme, the budget director, real quick. Bob, just to help me understand this, my understanding is that those 3 positions are currently filled, and as a result of those 3 positions currently being filled, despite having yet to be authorized through the budget process and approved by the city council, that the OIG is running an estimated $300,000 deficit for fiscal year 2021. Can you comment on that, Bob?
Sure. So for fiscal 21, it's my understanding that they have 17 filled positions with one additional that they're recruiting for. So because they had positions that are on the books for 21 before they were funded, there is a small deficit that OIG is projected to end with in fiscal 21. I'm just looking at our third quarter projection. It looks like it's about $140,000. And again, it's because they had positions filled for a portion of the year that weren't yet funded. Those positions again were added at the Board of Estimates, sometime during fiscal 21.
Got it, Bob. That's very helpful. And when we have obviously the Inspector General's a smaller agency, right? It's not DOT or police or something of that size. We have an agency with a deficit of say $140,000, and I guess it'd be safe to assume if that's prorated throughout the year, we're looking at, I'm really quickly trying to do the math in my head, about $183,000 if that's evened out over the year. Let's call it 180 grand. How does, talk to me about how BBMR handles a deficit like that? Is it through supplementary appropriation to close out the previous fiscal year, or is it included in something else related to the general fund?
There's really only three options. One we would have to go and ask the council for a supplemental appropriation. That assumes we have additional revenue, which this year we obviously don't have. Two is you can transfer the funds from another agency. The third option is there is a line in the budget. There's actually an agency called contingent fund where there is money budgeted that we can go up to $1 million. We can go to the board and close an agency deficit with the contingent fund. So that contingent fund is there and we use the full, it's charter authorized authority, and we budget for $1 million a year. And we do that to handle situations like the one here, where if you have a smaller agency or an amount that doesn't, rise to the millions of dollars, that it gives the department the flexibility to get that taken care of.
Got it. So in this instance, I'm going to assume we're going to use the contingency fund to true things up at the end of the year.
Yeah, we will likely have to. There will be a large package of supplementals to use federal aid, of course, for where it's covered. But in this case, this is not, these positions are not something that would be covered by FEMA or CARES or anything like that. So we'll likely have to use contingent funds, and we use it usually for one or two agencies each year, so we don't have to go all the way to the council for the approval.
Okay, thanks a lot. Ma'am, thank you. I got some more questions, but I'll circle back. Council Vice President Middleton.
No questions at this time. Thank you.
Thank you. Councilman Glover. Thank you. Councilman Dorsey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I don't know that I have many questions. I want to say thank you for all the work that the office has taken on. I worked hard to with the previous administration to ensure that you would get the necessary funding for the positions that would be required in order to carry out the ethics duties and the whistleblower responsibilities. Having written the charter amendment to establish the independence of the office, it's worth noting, I think, that there's a very unique provision in the Inspector General's charter language that, to my knowledge, I don't believe exists anywhere else in the city law. That is to say that there, in addition to the regular budget process that any agency goes through, that the Inspector General's office budget request should be reviewed specifically to ensure that it has all of the capacity necessary in order to carry out all of its duties. And that is to say that when its duties expand by act of ordinance or otherwise, then there is a charter mandate for there to be funding available to meet those new needs. And we knew that going into the passage of the ordinance that moved ethics from DLR over to the OIG. I was very happy at that time, the time that that transition was taking place, that the administration worked with the OIG to have those new positions created for the office through the Board of Estimates process. And I'm very happy to see that they are reflected in the budget this year, as I had hoped they would have been last year, but they were already going through that process. So I'm glad to see that not only do you have those positions, but that they are, all but one filled in your office. I would say it's always great to see. I think many of the agencies that we hear from have a far greater rate of vacancy within their even their core functions. And it's just great to see an office that's working well and able to attract talent.
They are.
And looking forward to the upcoming revisions to the whistleblower law that we're going to be working on, and seeing how they can even further improve. I think you've done a spectacular job of raising awareness of the office, resulting in people not only knowing that they can come to you, but feeling confident in coming to you. And I really hope that we can do that with whistleblower protections as well. And I look forward to you being fully staffed in order to be able to sustain your ability to meet the needs. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
Councilman or Councilwoman Ramos.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and colleagues. Inspector General, I think you've done an amazing job, and I support your office 100%. I think that the work that has been done, there's more to go, and you're doing, I think, what we all asked you to do when we voted for the charter amendment to give independence. So I appreciate that. I had a question on the indicators here. It looked like, the activity is starting to pick up. You had 750 hotline complaints. So we knew that it would start slow and then it's building. And but then you've asked the target to go down a little bit. Do you think that the target is actually going to go down, or, you're trying to sort of manage expectations for your office? Because I think with these number of complaints, it obviously takes, the right amount of staffing to be able to investigate all the complaints fully.
Yeah, that's a big concern. I think I would, right now the target is 350 for hotline complaints. And right now we're at 803 or 8.
For this fiscal year?
Yeah, for this year.
Wow.
Yeah, it's crazy. So my team, definitely not me. My team has been able, every one of our targets has been met this year, and it's only June. But I do think that the hotline is one of the most important things, and I do believe, I mean, in the ethics group, I mean, they answered, because we track every single one, they answered 1,400 inquiries about the financial disclosure, ethics concerns, or other type of things. You can just imagine what the phones are doing in my office. And then we have a hotline that also has 800. And so it's been nonstop. But I do worry. What worries me the most is the fact that we have 48 pending investigations, and those aren't complaints. Because in my office, the way it works is we get the hotline complaint from the citizens, then we determine whether it's a viable complaint. And then it moves into, it has a preliminary inquiry, and then it gets into what we know could be an investigation. We have 48 of those that we can't get to. We have 31 active cases now. And so that's why I am hoping, you know, that we'll be able to eventually add another investigator. Because we had asked for 2 when we added the new ethics and whistleblower. We asked for 5. We got 3, which I am forever grateful for. But I do hope someday we'll be able to have the other 2, because the pending number does worry me very much. People, you know, those are from the citizens. They gave the complaint to the OIG, and I have people get very frustrated because I can neither confirm or deny I'm even doing an investigation. I can't give people updates. They think we're not even doing it, and it's kind of hard for me.
Thank you. I appreciate it. 858 already in the call-in line. That's
808. 808.
808. Well, still. I wrote it down incorrectly.
Okay.
Thank you very much. Thank you, Mr. Chair. That's all I had.
Thank you. Councilman Cohen?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Though, if it's okay with you, I think Councilman Stokes might have been ahead of me.
Sure thing. Councilman Stokes?
Well, thank you, Councilman, but my question was asked to Councilman Costello about the deficit. Thank you.
Gotcha. All right, perfect. Just want to, respect the little Zoom hands we've got up. Used to be a teacher and all. Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Madam Inspector General. Did want to start by saying, really do appreciate just the amount of money that your work has helped to save the city. In a time where finances are tight, we really appreciate, like my colleague said, the work that you've been doing. I want to ask about when your reports are issued. I know I think there's sometimes some confusion about what that actually does in terms of your statutory responsibilities, like your ability to either discipline city employees or just present a report to the administration that then acts or does not act. And so, and I know in Baltimore County, I think there's been some similar kind of confusion that I've seen a little bit of, but I wondered if you could just walk through that part of your work, like when you get the complaint, you follow up, you do the investigation, and you issue the report. What happens then?
Okay, thank you. That was a very good question. My team, and it's definitely, it's my team that's able to accomplish what the office has been able to accomplish with the $7 million this year. My team, we are just the investigators. We follow the facts to provide the truth to the electeds, or to the department heads, or whoever the action holder is. In no way does my office have the ability, or we are the independent investigator, and we provide a report to, usually my reports almost always go to the mayor, the solicitor, whichever, if it's whoever the action holder is or whoever's department it is. And then they have time to do review and do whatever they choose to do. That's never my call. It's never that is their responsibility. And then they do right back to me, and we will then issue, because a lot of my investigations have personnel matters, and there's privacy rules and there's that type of thing. And we then would reduce it to a public synopsis, because in the end, this office, it works for the people, and that's where all of our investigations came from, the employees and the people. So we always, if we can, issue a public synopsis that tells what happened, but we also try to have the responses. And that is when and where, if someone is no longer with the city, that will be in the response of the department head, the mayor, whoever it is, will let us know what happened. And then just trying to keep everybody as transparent as possible by the laws that exist. So we just do the investigation, and then we turn it over. And then when we do the public synopsis, we always give it to the entire council, and then to the people, and then to the press. So,
Got it. Yeah,
Thank
great.
you.
Now, I just wanted to get on the record that, your agency does not discipline city employees or folks who are found in violation of any policies. You issue a report, bring it to light, bring the transparency, and then it's up to the administration or whomever to act on it.
Yeah, and sometimes it's not a discipline at all. It's an investigation that proves that someone's done a very good job, or that someone is doing something correctly. So it's not always an OIG opinion report is not necessarily a negative thing. It could be a way that the city can do something better, and that's the way I like to frame them.
Yeah, no, I think that's important. So that was actually kind of my second question, was around, and I don't know whether there's any kind of confidentiality that would prohibit you from answering this, but I'm curious about what percent of the reports or the investigations actually that you do result in exonerating someone or finding that there was no wrongdoing, or even that there could have been some sort of process failure, but it was not a intentional misuse of funds or misappropriation or anything illegal or unethical. I'm just kind of curious, I mean, we see what gets written, but given that there are all these complaints and all these investigations, wondered, how many are substantiated versus how many are not, and how many are just about like, listen, we could improve this process by doing this.
We issue something called a management alert. And with the management alert, not all of those become public. A lot of those are more the type of thing that you were just talking about. I would say, as far as the ones that end in someone losing their job or something, I would say it's 20% at the most. Yvonne, what do you? That's my deputy. I'm asking her too. Or Michelle, if either one of you two, especially Michelle. Michelle's my head of investigation. She would know. Michelle, are you on there? Can you elevate her? Councilman Costello? Oh, I'm sorry.
Councilman Cohen, just to answer some part of your question, you're correct. The majority of the cases that we tend to investigate, you're right, it's not intentional. Most of it tends to be just negligence or practice or habit that doesn't comply with policy. And usually our investigations are written, our reports are written to reflect that. And many of the management alerts will sometimes just that. We'll alert management to say, hey, there's something going on here. It looks like you're losing money very fast in this area. You need to pay attention. And it's probably because an employee maybe just missed something, didn't pay attention, or overlooked something. Sometimes that investigation will continue, but we do alert management to say, hey, turn the water off here or stop the bleeding in this area.
Right.
Got it. Well, again, thank you to your team. Thank you, Madam Inspector General. Just really appreciate the work that you all are doing. And thank you, Mr. Chair.
It's just
Thank you,
Isabel.
Thank you, Councilman. Madam Inspector General, before I go to the next one, I just want to expand off of Councilman Cohen's question. It was a great point, Councilman, your first question around your role is to present the information to the administration, and the administration is to make decisions on issues based on the findings. So to confirm, you don't make recommendations to the administration to take certain personnel actions in writing or verbally, correct? That's not something you do?
I don't think, Vaughn, have we ever done that? Or Michelle? Can you bring up Michelle Phillips?
She's not even listed as an attendant.
There's a Michelle on there.
Is there?
I don't know if there's no last name though. Yeah.
Can you bring up Michelle? Michelle?
Oh, you're muted, ma'am.
You're muted, Michelle.
Okay, they unmuted me.
There you go.
Good afternoon, attendees, all city council persons, chair as well. So no, our office does not recommend anything to any disciplinary actions at all to any agencies. We allow management to assess our findings, ask any questions, and initiate any internal investigations to solidify anything that we found. And then it is up to them to exact any discipline.
Got it. Yeah, that's what I figured. So again, I want to thank Councilman Cohen for kind of queuing that up. So just to confirm, the office or personnel have never made a recommendation to a mayoral administration to take any specific type of disciplinary action. Can you confirm that's correct?
That's correct, Mr. Chair.
Okay. And Madam Inspector General, that's your understanding, correct?
That's as far as I can remember.
Okay, thank you. No, excellent.
A lot of cases.
Understood. Who's next? Councilman Burnett.
That was my line of questioning as well. I'm good, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Great minds think alike, sir. Councilman Conway.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. No questions.
Thank you, sir. Did we do Councilman Glover yet? Can't recall.
I don't think he was there.
All right, let's jump over to Councilwoman Porter. I think we did her.
We did not.
Yes, no questions, Mr. Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilwoman. All right, let me just make sure we've gone through. So we did Ramos, Middleton, Glover, Burnett.
Chair, I do have something, I guess.
Madam Vice President, floor is yours.
Thank you. In line of the questioning and that was already mentioned, I know you did make a statement. We work for the people. I know you were talking about your agency, but I just want to reiterate that every one of us in city government works for the people. And your office, I would say it would be like an enhancement that kind of helps to enforce that. I know that all the city agencies have, their supervisors and directors and so on. And I look at your office as an enhancement in trying to help that. And I'm saying that because I'm hoping that your office really works hard to be a visible partner with the agencies. And I also say that, this morning we had Director Moore of the, Equality Equity Office, which is new. And I really think that you should really have a conversation and kind of partner with her as well as you're investigating, because she has initiatives and things that she's moving forward and requiring of every agency. She made a statement that every agency has an equity officer. And these are new things, and I just would like you to really kind of start including people that also kind of do things that you do, but maybe just in a different form. It's just those partnerships are just so crucial, so we can get the full gist of information that at the end comes to you before before it's even shared with the media, because sometimes that's how things get distorted and out of place. And to do a total investigation, you need some of those other things that become new as we move forward. So just to add a suggestion, appreciate the way your office has helped the city to save money, and just think it's important that you also, even though you're kind of a separate entity, I think it's important that you try to maintain healthy, positive partnerships.
Thank you, Councilwoman Middleton. I totally agree with you. Actually, Dana Moore and I have a very, very good working relationship, and she's actually looked to me as far as some of setting up the investigations and how we do them and how we train our people. And so we actually have a very strong relationship, and I do have that type of relationship with several of the investigative groups within the city, and there are a lot of them. And like I tell everybody, this city has a lot of good people working for it, and we've the outreach has been something that has meant a lot. When all the new elected officials, I've had the opportunity to meet with every one of them to try to sit down and to talk like I talked to you when I first came aboard. I mean, you and I had a conversation for over an hour, and I remember it vividly. It was a great conversation about what the office does, just so we can, because there are some misconceptions, and the best way to do that is to really sit down and talk to people. And so we constantly try, and I will continue to try, and I do appreciate very much that suggestion.
Thank you, Madam Vice President. Councilman Schleifer.
Sorry, I was having problems with my button, but I just want to say thank you and appreciate your work.
Thank you.
Thank you, Madam VP. Councilman Schleifer.
The buttons are having problems because I can't close mine now.
Buttons are going to button after 3 days, Madam Vice President. Madam Inspector General, just looking in so where you're at right now, you're at, or for fiscal 22, we're at a proposed 18 positions. Just out of curiosity, what do you think do you think you're going to have a request for additional positions in the fiscal 23 budget? And if so, how many?
I do. I think we'll probably be asking for probably 2 additional positions. Special agents, that's what we need.
Okay.
Especially because, I mean, the whistleblower and the ethics, I mean, I didn't realize it was going to be as much as it is. But luckily, I have really good people there. I mean, I know you've had the opportunity to meet with the director, Jeff Hostetler, and everybody.
Jeff's fantastic. Yep.
He is fantastic. Yvonne's fantastic. Michelle's fantastic. I'm blessed.
Yeah, Jeff's been a great resource. So let me just expand on that a little bit. So thinking in fiscal year 23, 2 additional positions, how many positions do you see yourself getting to before you're in a comfortable place? What do you think that number is?
I would think that the office would probably top out at 25. I think that would be a good number. I'm comparing it to my colleagues around the country. I do think it's a busy office. It would be great if it didn't have to be, but I tell you, it's the pending cases that bother me. And just the fact I can't get to them.
I have another question. I'm going to go to Councilman Dorsey for a follow-up.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Isabel, you came from WMATA.
I did.
WMATA is very comparable in size to the city of Baltimore in terms of the number of employees. How many positions did you have in your office at WMATA?
I believe, Yvonne, look at me. Do you think there's 40? We're in the same room, so 40?
At WMATA, there was an investigation side and an auditor's side of it. And at that time, for investigations only, it was about 22. And I know, since I talked to colleagues there now, that that number has gone up.
Okay, so more than what you have here, and you did have a whistleblower aspect to it because we modeled our whistleblower policy after WMATA's.
Correct.
But you did not also have the additional side of ethics that involves registration of every lobbyist in the city, every person who has to file an annual financial disclosure. You did not have that stuff under you at WMATA, and you have more people than you have right now. That's right. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
And gift solicitations too. That's
Gift
another whole thing.
Yeah. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Colleagues, any other questions here? Not you. Unmuted. There we go. Colleagues, any other questions? Madam Inspector General, you recently brought on I think someone that's taken lead on external communications. Mm-hmm. Which under Service 836, I'm on page 144 of Volume 2. Which one of these positions does that fit in?
I'm going to turn that question over to Yvonne.
Okay.
Councilman, that is currently under a special agent position right now.
Yeah.
We have been working to see what we can do to reclassify that into a more appropriate position for that role.
Okay, and I just help me, because I don't see special agent, I see special assistant, but I also see OIG agent. So is it one?
I'm sorry, it's OIG agent. You're correct.
OIG. Yeah. Okay, perfect. So we have someone in a position there who's handling the majority of their role is external comms.
It's part of that, and awareness as far as education, that part of it as well, and working with the office and helping develop public synopsises and whatever else that the Inspector General may want as far as making awareness of the investigation portion of that, of our office.
Okay. So technically and that's the one new position that's under changes there?
I'm sorry. No, the 3 new positions that we got, that was an existing pin that we had. The 3 pins that we got for ethics and whistleblowers, those were definitely filled by the people that are working in that.
Yeah.
Okay. So that was one of the one of the original 7 that had previously been authorized in our fiscal 21 budget.
Yes.
Okay. All right. So we're really short an OIG agent here, right?
Yes.
In terms of like functionality, right? What's the appropriate classification for that position?
For the position we were just talking about is
like that functionality. Yeah, what would be the appropriate, and if you want, I can defer to Bob Seneme just to chime in, or let me go to Bob first and see if Bob, is there an appropriate classification? Like, would it be an operations officer or?
It's a PIO more.
Yeah. No, I get that, man.
Oh.
I'm saying what's the Like we don't have a PIO classification within our.
So it's not a position at the same, and our special agents have a certain, it's actually more of like it's not the special agent rank.
Right. Let me turn to Bob for a second, because maybe Bob, are you still on the line?
Yeah.
Senator?
Yeah.
Okay. What's, because I know we don't have like a PIO, a specific PIO classification. Maybe we call it a communications officer or whatever we call it. But Bob, what's the appropriate classification for the individual position that we were just discussing?
I'm not sure offhand. I'd have to look at other, similar positions in other agencies. I think what you're saying is true. I don't remember ever seeing just a public information officer position, but one of those ops officer positions is probably the most appropriate. But I'd have to look at other agencies.
Right. Okay. And Bob, what would be the appropriate process for the OIG to follow in order to get that position, kind of squared up and reclassified correctly?
Yeah, so the regular process would be to go to work with our HR contact in human resources to just check, because HR keeps track of like positions across different agencies and tries to fit the roles and responsibilities into the closest classification. So that's the right step.
And we are currently doing that.
Great. And where are we at, Madam Inspector General, where are we at in that process?
Yvonne?
Councilman, we're still kind of in the middle of that process. I'm still trying to find the right, as you had brought up earlier about what role that is. And we were looking at like I believe it's an operations officer 1, and a special role would be a project manager, because the role is so specific. And so right now I'm going back and forth with DHR to shore up the description, what the appropriate description would be for that reclassification.
Okay. Nina, can we add as a request for the committee? Let's get an update on those efforts from the OIG. Let's say that by June 30th. Is that reasonable to get a written update for the committee on that? That would be greatly appreciated. Colleagues, any other questions? All right. Thank you very much, Madam Inspector General. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Appreciate your hard work. And we are now in recess until 4:30 p.m.